Welcome to Tiny Pep Talks for Step Parents, a short weekly podcast with new episodes every Sunday. For today's pep talk, when your partner puts you last. Sharing some of the many misconceptions I had to stumble over as I slowly shifted from a single parent perspective to a step family mindset. Back in my pre-Dan days, when I was a single parent, I believed that my kid would always come first and that my relationship with her would always and forever be my most important role. And anyone who had a problem with that could suck it. I believed that if my kid wasn't crazy about who I was dating, then that person just wasn't trying hard enough to win her over and they needed to up their game. I believed that my kid and I were a package deal. It was up to anyone I dated to figure out how they needed to fit in with us, not the other way around. And I believed that any last-minute schedule changes were between me, my ex, and our kid. If whoever I was dating had an issue with that, then they just didn't understand the complexities of dating someone with a kid. Then I met Dan, and bam. Suddenly, I was the person on the outside, the person who came in very last place on Dan's list of priorities and who was not a factor in his plan making. Suddenly, I was the person who got told, well, honey, maybe if you just tried a little harder, when I had already turned myself upside down and backwards trying to win my stepkid over. What an absolute 180 perspective shift for me. The single parent who thought she knew what she was getting into when she started dating a guy with a kid. After many years of stepfamily life, here's what I now know to be true. I'll always have a relationship with my daughter and it'll always be important, but it's not the two of us against the world to the exclusion of all other aspects of my life. Adult romantic relationships need time, attention, and nurturing along the way too. I now know that stepkids rejecting a stepparent is not necessarily a sign that their stepparent's not trying hard enough. It's about kids not being ready for a stepparent. And that's something that their parent, aka your partner, needs to support their kids in navigating. I now know that single parents need to make room on the couch for their partner to sit down and join the family, including asking their kids to please scoot over a little bit and help make their stepparent feel welcome. And I now know that any changes that affect the daily life of kids in the home also affect the lives of both partners, whether that's visitation schedule changes, decisions about extracurricular activities, or chores everyone's doing around the house or not doing. And it's not a sign of immaturity on the part of the step-parent to feel upset about the way those decisions impact them. It's part of navigating this wild ride of step-family life together, figuring out what works and what doesn't work, including finding viable ways of communicating about those changes. Me viewing the world from the perspective of a single parent was not at all the same as me viewing the world from the perspective of a person who was trying to blend a family. It's not until both partners in a step couple can set our preconceptions aside that we can move forward in any kind of real way together. So step parents, if your partner is putting all the pressure on you to figure out how to blend while simultaneously refusing to prioritize you in any real way, first of all, that sucks, and I'm really sorry. You might be feeling hopeless or wondering where you go from here or concerned whether this could be a huge red flag, but speaking as a former single parent whose head was very up her ass, I just wanted to remind you today that there's also a possible option C. Your partner's just as clueless as I was about how life actually works in a step family. Your partner might be putting you last because they honestly think that's how they're doing right by their kids. That might not make it easier to live with, but maybe it helps soften the blow a little bit. At least I hope so. And I also really hope your partner is open to learning a different path forward, the path of blending rather than excluding. If so, I'm going to link some resources in the show notes that might help open their eyes just a little tiny bit. And also in the show notes, I'm going to link over to the full transcript, which is on Substack, along with many other resources. We would love to see you over there.